Hello, everybody. My name is Hannes Rudolph, and I am the Roo Code Community Manager. I'm your host today. I'm here with Matt Rubens from our team and Danny from our team as well. And then our special guest, JB Brown. Welcome. Well, and then our special guest, JB Brown. Welcome.
Hey, how's it going? Thanks for having me.
And then our special guest. Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about yourself? In SmartSheet, how did you learn about Roo Code? What motivated you to become a significant contributor, really? Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? In SmartSheet, how did you learn about Roo Code? What motivated you to become a significant contributor, really? Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sorry, I'm getting the feedback. Are you guys getting feedback?
Yeah, sure am.
Who's got the feedback?
Sorry, I'm getting the feedback. Are you guys getting feedback?
Yeah.
Do you have the YouTube link opened or something?
Mm-mm.
It's only on JB's side when he unmutes. Well, you said he would. I said he was a significant contributor. Matt, do you want to show me a little bit about what you mean while he works this out?
Yeah, so I've known JB for a while now. He was actually one of the earliest contributors in the Roo Code Discord. And now that we have a contributors page, some of you might have seen the news yesterday that we have become a first order repository on GitHub, which, among other things, gives us a contributors page that we can look through. I've gone ahead and I've sorted it by editions. I've lost the top spot, so a little embarrassed to show this, but you don't have to go down too far to find JB here. I think he's at number 13 here with 18,000 lines added and 3,500 lines removed, which I got to say, as a VP of engineering previously at a smaller company, is very impressive to do in your role. But yeah, JB, if you're able to speak now,
Thank you. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, no problem. Love to hear a little bit more just about you and SmartSheet.
Yeah, so let me tell you a little about SmartSheet so I can explain why I was interested in Roo Code to start with, and then give you a little background. So SmartSheet's an intelligent work management platform that combines people, processes, their data, and AI to scale the impact of teams, accelerate your work and your business outcomes. As a company, we're about 3,300 globally distributed company, global products and customer base. Our engineering org, I think, is 650, maybe 400 engineers spread around. SaaS business. We run on AWS. I believe my solutions engineer, who's also a Roo contributor, is here attending the podcast. And so, today's competitive business landscape, we're in a young market ourselves. And today's competitive landscape, it's engineering can be a differentiator, or it can also be a drag on how you're competing. If you can't move fast enough, you can't deliver features, can't scale. So we're always looking for that next level of improvement and increment of growth, and try and use our engineering org to better customers' impact and better our business. So that's really what led me to Roo Code originally. I luckily have a friend who's very, very much into AI-assisted coding. He was the former VP of product here. His name is Ben Canning. He's moved on. He's a CPO now somewhere else. And we were having lunch, and he was telling me about all the stuff he was doing with Roo Code over his break in between jobs, and it was really exciting. I got to come back here, tell a couple influential engineers and have them get really excited, and then we all got excited inside the organization. I've been at SmartSheet for almost 7 years, and it's the fastest organic spread of some tool or capability inside of the organization I could ever remember. It was just like wildfire over Slack about using Roo to do various things. So then from there, I started figuring out how I could make it better for the team.
Mm-hmm.
So how has the product development cycle then evolved since AI has become more central to coding? How do you anticipate it evolving from here as well?
Yeah, I think it's I think it's evolved in increments in all phases. I hear stories sometimes where people are like, well, yeah, this part of our SDLC has improved a lot, but these parts haven't been touched. I think Smartsheet's story is different in it. That's the PM and design org are also very interested in AI and using AI tools for the core parts of their functions. And so I feel like we're just taking little time slices out of every phase of the process, including operations like production support and on-call rotations. We've used it to find cost savings in our AWS bills. When I ask about, okay, tell me your success stories in Roo, like, over Slack, I just get these like, oh, I used it for this and it would have taken me a day, but I did it in like an hour. Or my favorite ones are like, I've been putting this off because I didn't want to figure it out, and it was hard because we're a 20-year-old company. We've got 20-year-old code in some places, and people don't know all of the code that they own and support, and they've got to go dig into it. And so they like, I'm putting this off because it's tedious, and then I asked Roo to help me figure it out, and I got it done in a few hours or a day or whatever it is. There's almost this psychological safety empowerment that happens from AI assisted coding from tools like this, that I can try things that I didn't try before, and I can do things that I wouldn't have thought about before. And I really love that impact on our team and how they feel about it and what they can go do.
You said the product management's really interested in it and other parts of the organization. Are you guys collaborating and coordinating efforts for AI, or is everybody sort of working in their silos and trying to figure out their own problems to solve with AI?
Yeah, we started in silos. Everybody started in their like home base of tools, whatever they were using before AI assisted, and then started using the AI assisted capabilities that those tools brought out, or a competitor, and they would try them out. We're now in the phase of trying to meld them together, and in some places skip pieces of the process because you could do them now in a different way. I think we're at this paradigm shift point where some best practices from the past, the conditions at which they were deemed to be, to be best at in operate in, may not be best in the future. I don't know if that makes sense, but like, you kind of think about, it's pretty common to, okay, well, let's design the user experience and we'll do like litmus test of the user experience before we write any code, because writing code is expensive. And I don't know if that's so true for everything anymore. So the way that you think about your process now can change, and it's exciting because I like to like maximize the potential of things, and this offers new opportunities to do that. But then also it's daunting for people that don't do well in change or uncomfortable about what this ambiguous future might be.
How do you mitigate those concerns? I've heard stories of product managers like getting freaked out that there's like a prototype working of something that they hadn't seen before, and engineering leaders seeing waves of PRs incoming from non-engineers. Like how do you mitigate through all of that parts of the change and the messiness associated with that? No process for that.
Haven't had too much of that. I think it's just the people wanting to succeed more than success as a team is more important than their individual responsibilities or definition. And I think we've got enough ambition as a company and as a team that we're just sort of like, that's all we can focus on, hopefully. In the places where it's happened, we start with carrots, like encouragement to change, provide support, provide tools, access, time. And then months later, 5-6 months later, then it becomes, okay, everybody's already doing it already. So now it's an expectation, like it's an expectation you're already meeting, but it's an expectation going forward, that we will stay this way and continue improving. So we've done it that way. We started in the engineering org, we started AI assisted tools a year and a half ago or more. Starting with the obvious, like the things that were out there, and then moving to more generative, agentic stuff like Roo. And now we're getting into more team-based SDLC, AI SDLC. So at first long-winded answer. at first I would characterize our efforts as like perishable single engineer work. So I use Roo, prompt it for some stuff. I give it some context to get my work done, and I commit my code, but all of the context and all of the learnings that I put into Roo, the prompt history, all that stuff is gone. It's perished. And my team looks at my output of using the AI tools, but they don't get to benefit then on their next task from that effort that I put in. So we're now moving to team-based, where teams have standards, practices, paradigms that they all use the same way, and then they get to benefit from each other from their efforts of the context that they build up and the modes that they build that are specific for that code base.
Like, what's the? Can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what's the scale of I guess, investment and collaboration? Like, how many shared modes do you all have, or do you use?
I don't know the count. I mean, it's a big enough organization. I couldn't tell you the count. I do know that we were developing a standard that is the base of modes that should be in every repo, so that every engineer, regardless of what one they go into, because we have lots of them, right? And people change roles and assignments. You go in, you will find some standard directory structures of where documentation lives, code samples live. The long-term memory bank is a certain way. We've customized it to have some multi-tenancy in the long-term memory bank. So there's a recent activity one, I can't remember the exact name, recent tasks or something. We've multi-tenanted that so that developers can share a task and not have Git collapse, when you check that in, have it sort of overwrite and have a clash of two different recent tasks overwriting another. So we have a little bit of that, like central standardization, but then encouraging people to build their own and customize their own for efficiency. In the end, you want productivity. We would measure it by MR throughput, and that's what we're trying to drive towards as that outcome.
Yeah, that kind of leads into my next question, which it sounds like you all are really, really embracing this, like more than a tool, kind of as a member of the team, and using a lot of it. Like, how do you think about the cost side of it? Like, I know you're a pretty mature company right now, so I know there's probably a lot of focus on the P&L and things like that. Like, how does AI spend fit in there?
So AI spend for tokens, we use Bedrock. We have got a good relationship with Amazon and our team there. So our spend, all of our AI tool spend goes into a single AWS account that I own, as opposed to like a team owns it and they have to do their budget management on that, and they have to do costs forecasting. I own it just so that I can tell them, I want you to focus on your return, not your cost. So in most places in the organization where we do things in cloud, we manage a cloud cost like a typical company would, and you want to increase your margins. Here, we're trying to drive return, not trying to reduce cost. And so to get that mindset shift in behavior and sort of practice shift, I'm sort of precluding people from thinking about the cost too much. But that's also what led me to my first major contribution to Roo Code, which is to update the Bedrock provider to use prompt caching. So Bedrock has a prompt caching feature. I can't remember when it was launched, 6-7 months ago, something like that, maybe longer. That this multi-turn agents where you're providing the history, your dialogue as context to the next turn is really good at optimizing the cost for that. It's built into Roo now if you use the Bedrock provider.
Yeah.
With respect to that budget and the merge requests that are getting generated, do you track that? Are you able to create connectivity between the spend and the actual features and bugs that are shipped to production?
Not at that granular level, not causation. We have an aggregate team level MR throughput, and then company-wide token costs and usage. I could actually get down to it because you have to authenticate to use tokens, and so then there's a tracking to the amount of tokens per person, but I don't want to. Like, I kind of staying away from that. I think it will lead to bad mindset and bad behavior.
Well, then, for that matter, like if you've thought deeply about this, and so I think others would benefit from, other senior leaders would benefit from your thinking around like what are the indicators, the KPIs in particular of adoption and progress and productivity gains associated with all of that.
We started with attitude and aptitude. Any change that you go through, you can't measure the impact of the change until after that, like classic change management dip in anything, right? Totally. So this is a big enough shift in engineering practices and in other functional practices for other skills that it's a long-term return. And so really just wanted people dedicated towards that long-term return in their practices, their thinking, acceptance, learning, right? So we try to drive learning velocity at first. And we would simply, it's a scale of like 4, like red, yellow, green, orange. And all we wanted to do for each engineer is just like, what is their aptitude towards using AI in their job, and rate for one of those. And then there was no negative outcome of that, no punishment out of that. But then that gave us a baseline and organization of what % are in each category. And then we set goals. Every engineering manager had a goal of what to achieve in their team in 6 months when you re-rated, so that the engineering manager would drive an environment where adoption of AI enhanced productivity and learning was positive in their team, every single team, so that every engineer had that environment to work in. Positive influence towards learning, and then reduced influences towards resistance. Are
there tactics that the engineering managers have come to rely on to bring people along that?
Oftentimes it's just giving them time. Like, hey, I'm going to stop loading you up with all these assignments that you already have done in the past and know how to do the old way, so that you have time specifically, and I'm going to give you space, and I want you to go do this week, a week of just using this tool in this way. That's how Roo Code got going, is a few of us leaders all found one team and said, okay, next week you're using Roo Code for everything. And even if you don't ship anything, you don't complete any stories, we still win because you learned. And you learned what you can use it for and maybe what you don't want to use it for yet. And that's what contributed to the wildfire of adoption.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's one thing. One thing people say about engineering is like writing code is only kind of a small part of it.
Yeah.
I guess I'm curious, like, well, in Smartsheet, like what the different activities are roughly in terms of, how much do people write code compared to testing code or reviewing code or architect or explaining, fixing bugs, and like how much have you found AI actually helping with each of those different areas?
I think, again, because we're an older company, well, 20 years, old, but like old enough that engineers are often working in code bases that they haven't recently been in or never been in some cases. And so there's a lot of value in understanding code. I would say it more than just reading. It's like understanding, what is the purpose of this code? What's its intent? How does it achieve its intent? What are its negatives and its downsides? And you can throw theories at Roo and say, if I were to try and implement this feature in this way, what does it look like? What would that be? And what are the potential consequences? And so you can sort of prepare. Every engineer can prepare to a level of being effective faster in whatever their assignment is.
Yeah, have you found that? How many repositories do you are used at Smartsheet?
Yeah, I don't, hundreds, maybe 1,000. I think a lot. Yeah, we have 50 agile teams. Right.
Yeah, like how do AI tools do at that scale? Like, are you able to, so if someone from customer support says there's a bug in this, is AI actually able to navigate and try to figure out like which repo, or, you hear people say like about the limitations of whether it's like grepping or code base indexing. I'm just curious to hear like how that goes, kind of just from an understanding perspective.
Most of I would say 80% or more of the time, we don't have that need where it's like, hey, there's a bug in this part of the app. It's pretty logical that it's like this service or this team. On the really complex ones, we do have a different AI tool that is purposely built for searching large amounts of repositories with AI to find things and to know where to go then to change it. And so it's source graph. And so we will use source graph in those cases to then find the place to go use a tool like Roo to make the change and to understand that particular code base better.
Cool. No, that does sound pretty helpful. I forget, do you use like the code base indexing feature of Roo?
I haven't heard anybody. I think people have been playing around with it, but I haven't heard anybody doing it because of common practice.
Interesting. I mean, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I guess I'm curious to hear a little bit more about like what I guess what you think the resistance or the blockers or the it not being a priority is. We've been talking about it internally a little bit. It's just like how can we make this maybe a little easier to set up? But I think understanding the need for it would also be helpful from your perspective.
I think my guess is that we just don't understand the value of it yet, or not enough to make it tangible to go put effort in. So probably we just need to learn that.
Sometimes the problem is the grepping works surprisingly well until you actually see it finding stuff that wasn't explicitly mentioned. And for me, that was the aha moment with the code base indexing. But it is like we're a little bit do ourselves a little bit of a disservice almost because the grepping works so well.
Yeah, I could see that.
So, JB.
Yeah.
Marketplace.
Yes.
That's your baby. The Marketplace and Roo Code. I have messaged most of the times we've messaged her when you're asking me like, come on, like let's get this thing going. Ship it. You want to tell us about that? How did you come to do that? Why did you do that? What do you want to make?
So I did that. This is super selfish, but all of the stuff I've done in Roo Code, I did it for my SmartSheet team. I thought it would be good for us to move faster, and so I started contributing for our own benefit. I wanted my team to be able to learn from each other and gain the value of each other's efforts in creating modes or MCPs for our internal usage of like our own MCPs for our internal tools and ecosystem to make them all more efficient. It's got proprietary information. It's proprietary, like it's stuff that makes sense for Smartsheet, but nobody else. And so I didn't want to just have a public marketplace because then I wouldn't be able to put those things in the marketplace. I wanted to be able to have a platform of marketplace in Roo Code that I could then point to different data sources, that one of those at least would be a private data source inside of our environment that would return all of our like more custom stuff, and that my engineers then could just click install basically and then start getting the value of it. And then we have internal outsourcing of our engineering team putting that stuff into our internal marketplace to gain an advantage of again, PR throughput, because they take away some of the like manual effort and searching and trying to understand stuff from different systems and provide better context into the things that you ask Roo to do. All of my contributions to Roo are actually using Roo to write changes to Roo for like the first 90%, and then there's some last mile of like making sure I understand the code and then moving it around, honestly, just moving it around and then putting comments so that things are kind of in logical chunks for the next contributor. I started that and a couple of the other Roo main contributors jumped on. I'm pretty bad at UI. So if somebody from UI that is more, has a propensity for better visuals jumped in, and someone who jumped in to do the installer part. It was awesome. It was this real collaboration of just people who don't actually know each other that wanted the same thing and then pushed it forward.
Yeah. Is there?
Yeah. So go ahead, Sean.
Oh no, I was going to say, if I recall, there was more to the original marketplace than we have now.
Okay, are you going to shame Danny and Matt now? Is this what's
Yeah,
happening?
that's what he's about to do. He does once per podcast. He always takes an opportunity to dig at Matt and Danny, and we haven't figured out the kill switch to turn off his camera. Well, is what it is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys can shoot back, but what's your vision for additional?
Yeah. So there's some stuff
it is going to evolve.
Yeah, there's some stuff that was in the original marketplace, hasn't shipped yet. I would love to see it in Roo Code Cloud, because that is the mechanism that you all have chosen for enterprise support for these things that are specifically for teams that are bigger, larger, have these rules about security and a bigger ecosystem to coordinate and work within. So some of that I still want to see in Roo Code Cloud. That's I ping you all on the sides every once in a while to get that. So we can get back to that original idea of just being able to install even like almost like a package, right? I've got these modes that I always use that know, I mentioned SourceGraph, we're a GitLab shop, right? GitLab and our other internal tools, and I can just always have them as my SmartSheet engineer and from my SmartSheet marketplace inside of Roo Code. And our security team is already really looking at how they use Roo Code Cloud as the sanctioned, approved distribution mechanism for MCPs. Even if you're coding in something that's not Roo Code, that's what engineers will be looking at to know I'm approved to use these. They passed all the security tests, and I can go use them. So, there's these extra needs or demands at certain levels of business that I think Roo Code Cloud will continue to evolve to and meet, and that really hoping for some advancements there.
Cool.
Yeah, and can you tell me a little bit more, and all the viewers, about the packages of MCPs and modes that you're looking for? Is it because the modes themselves depend on certain MCPs, or is it because of the orchestration between the different modes, or both?
It's both. There's an intersection of it. So if you imagine, let's see, what do we have? One of our modes is just it's the extension of the coder mode, but it knows to look in a folder convention of every repo. Look here for approved examples of how to do a particular type of thing, something about our code base or our standards, right? And so you always look here to see how to do that. The content in that repo, in that location, can change, but the coder mode always knows that's the location. That's where I get my information. There's another specialized coder mode that is the API client mode. The API client mode is told to be 100% faithful to an API spec. Even if an engineer tells you to try and write a convenience method, don't do it. Like, refuse to do anything that is not exactly what the API spec is, right? Those two work together because the coder mode knows when I'm supposed to, at least when I'm making a change to an API client or generating one, I should pass to this mode that specializes in this and won't do anything else. So those, as a package, need to come together. Otherwise, you're going to have somebody download the coder mode and install it, and that's going to try and delegate it to a thing that doesn't exist. Okay. And then some of our modes, we want them to know about MCPs, right? So there's a SmartSheet MCP, and we want to be able to have our modes pull data down from SmartSheet and update SmartSheet. We're doing this in some cases with our PMs where they write specs or write tools, requirements, and then the MCP just knows to pull it down. Well, the SDLC, the orchestrator mode, knows how to talk to the SmartSheet MCP to get the SmartSheet data in a certain structure. So they kind of need to come together as a package of, this is my team's process all together. That makes sense?
Do you think that delicate dance of agent modes working together is something that, describe the end state of like software like Roo that can help you construct that, and as well as the design principles involved, the organizational design principles involved, the smarts behind somebody like you to know how to like what the organization workflow needs to look like and marry those two things?
It's an interesting subject. What's the exact question in there?
How do you envision in the future organizations will get to the state that you're in?
How will they get there? I think they'll all,
obviously, like we ship with these 4 modes or 5.
Yeah.
And you're describing something that we've seen as well, which is that the solution to an agent that goes off the rails is other modes that know how to like have their own concerns and to bring back the team to a better team-based outcome. But there's like it's a leap from where the software ships today and that vision that we absolutely share with you.
I think for me, it was when I realized the intent of the mode is what's driving its behavior. So whatever you say, so the coder mode, like it's supposed to write code. It writes the code you tell it to write, even if you're telling it to do the wrong thing or in the wrong way. Like it's trying to succeed at your objective, right? And so this is where I realized, I need a separate mode for the API client mode because I want its objective to be 100% faithful to the client, not to me, not to my request, right? And so you can't have one mode that has like basically 2 managers, two objectives. You're not going to get either one necessarily. And so managers who have done org design or have like tried to figure out the best combination of people to work together and before have this innately in them. They just have to recognize that like, okay, now you're org designing your modes, your agents basically, and the cooperation mechanisms between them and the responsibility delegation between them. Once you get to that mindset, I think then it becomes more obvious that there's value in spending a little bit of time in doing that. The bar to value is pretty low, right? Once you start doing that, you spend a couple days on it for your one code base and you'll get value out of it.
How do you map that all together? Like, how do you do that jigsaw puzzle? Is that, do you document that, I assume?
My recommendation is to start from the top, start from the orchestrator level, right? Where do you get your inputs from? Where do your outputs need to go to? So you're kind of doing a value stream map of here's where stuff comes in from the left and goes out to the right. And then, just almost pretend that your modes are like pulling stuff from a board, like a sprint board, and assigning things. If you can just model that in your modes, you're probably getting somewhere.
Sounds familiar.
So you're using modes really as agents.
Yeah.
Not instead of personas, you've turned them into agents. They're originally built as personas, but
more of like a specialized workforce that works well together as a team. Right. You have your code reviewer mode, and I think you have this like MR responder mode now.
Well, yeah, and so I was going to ask you how much time we've been sort of secretly soft launching for those of you listening, and it becomes a little bit less of a soft launch. We've been essentially turning modes into cloud agents, very much in the way that you're thinking about them, a very specialized task. So we've obviously released PR Reviewer that reviews every open PR on GitHub. We've released the PR Fixer, which addresses any comments that come in. We've also been introducing modes that can explain your code base to you by chatting with you on Slack. And so this is a little bit of our product vision on the cloud, and our cloud agents is to, as you say, to turn every one of those agents into a cloud agent. I'm going to give you an opportunity to bang on us and ask you if you've used them. Tell us why you haven't.
We have Roo Code Cloud, and we have set it up. We're a GitLab shop, and you guys have GitHub integration, and so I need GitLab first in order to get there. But I absolutely want to get there. I have a vision of how we would use a cloud-based, basically forget that it's the cloud, and these agents that you've defined as your digital teammates for this code base can do asynchronous parallel work to your human teammates, right? I think right now you sit down with Roo Code and you ask it to do something in your ID, you kind of stuck watching it or waiting for it to tell you, okay, now it's your turn, right? It's sort of this driver navigator pair programming process. Once you get to, well, this can go async to me doing something and then let me know when it's done so that I can check on it, review it, whatever, do the human in the loop step that is designed in my process. That's when I think productivity will really go up, because right now you can do the synchronous stuff faster, but it's not so where you can do async things. And that's where I see you going with Roo Code Cloud, and where I certainly want to be at SmartSheet with something sometime soon.
Do you try to run multiple instances of Roo on, in multiple windows? And then do you have any tricks to the trade to keep yourself straight? Because like I very quickly lose track of where I'm at.
No, I do that too. I lose track, and I get invested in one, right, where I really want to like make sure that one's going well, and the other one sort of goes idle, and you don't get the productivity gains that way.
Right.
But I think if it's running in the cloud and you can't watch it, and you just, it's basically an ephemeral Roo task, and then you get to check on it when it's done, kind of like you would do it stand up in a team, right, the next day. Or someone says, I need a code review, can you review it? That's kind of what I've been expecting. It's like my digital teammate's going to tell me it needs a code review now.
Yeah. Well, you need to, in order to manage a team of agents in the cloud that are doing multiple tasks, you need a board. And just like we've introduced the to-do list to the individual agent working a task, like probably need a board, but that doesn't exist, and we haven't built it, and but this notion that like, how do you multitask?
I have a suggestion on who you should integrate with.
Oh yeah, tell us.
SmartSheet. Right. SmartSheet manages work.
I walked right into that one. That
right? Like you walked right.
Bang. We're going to get lots of digs in on me today.
We have a SmartSheet MCP that's in the marketplace,
Yes.
Yeah, who made that? Who made that SmartSheet MCP?
There's a SmartSheet MCP in the Roo marketplace now.
Yeah. So how would we integrate? Can you tell us more about that besides
this is what our customers use SmartSheet for, is to manage work between teammates, right? And then they define their work process. So it's a very flexible platform that you define what you're going to call your work and all of the attributes of your work and what their types are. So for example, like it's a spreadsheet interface to start with. So you say, well, I have name, description, status, which can be symbols or single drop down or checkboxes, types for managing work. Assign it to certain people. You have workflows that will notify them or auto update things that you can really customize your process and automate big chunks of it. Then of course we're launching, and then just announced our AI agents to be able to operate on that work through human language, diagram it, like give you charts, dashboards, reports. We have 90, I think it's 95% or 90%. I can't remember the exact number of the Fortune 500. So managing work at really, really big scale. But you can all do it through an API or an MCP, or we have SDKs as well. So it would be a good option for people who are doing agentic processes, coordinating work across different teammates.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, ever since the beginning of Roo, I think like a year ago for the internal Roo Vet hackathon, actually, that was one of the things we were playing around with the most. It's just like, how do you take this agent, which at the time a year ago was a lot less mature, but how do you treat this more like a teammate and instead of a tool? And how do you delegate to it and get responses back? And we've been playing around internally with and I think ready for teams now, actually, like a Slack integration that lets you just talk directly to Roo Code. And it's kind of crazy how human-like it is. It really feels like there's a lot of things I can't predict in AI, but talking to them like humans, I think we already see that with ChatGPT. And I think in the work context, like assigning them a ticket, having them jump on, a bug or an error and report back to you. I think all those things are coming sooner than we think, whether it's through Smartsheet or Linear or Jira or Notion or Sentry. Like it feels like it's all coming.
Yep. And you want to pick this is our avocation. You want to pick a platform that is going to integrate easily and well with all your other systems, right? And flexible and adaptable to how you want your work to be defined and managed, and not restrict you to certain fields or certain types or structures, right? And so this is where we excel at doing that, and we have for a long time. I think the key to what you said and is to treat them like teammates and give them the responsibility and the expectations of teammates to pull work, do something, and then tell another teammate, digital or human teammate, to pick up the next thing or do the human in the loop step. And I know, Matt, you've told me about how you guys handle your tickets that are submitted in GitHub. Could you explain that process for everybody? Because I think that's inspiring, and I would love for you to. I always think you are all experiencing the future of engineering more than anybody else as you build your processes around your tools, and then tell us how to use them, like build the thing that allows us to do what you do. But I'd love for you to explain that and be more vocal about it.
I would like to I'd like to jump in for a sec. One thing that's very interesting about that process you mentioned is I'm used to living in a world where when software doesn't do what I want it to do, I get like angry at it like it's the weather, you know, and I can be angry at it and nothing can change, and I can stay angry at it and like I can be annoyed and grumpy about it, but I can actually can't do that at Roo, because then I have to write an issue and then I end up having to work on the issue. And so I'm like, don't get, don't. Anyways, to that process, Matt.
Yeah, well, you feel the process more than a lot of us, but I think there's a lot of reasons. I think maybe the biggest reason that it feels like we're living in the future is because we are a very small team internally, but we're working with a very large contributor base now. So in some sense, it's like, how do we handle? I think we have 277 contributors now. Like, how do we keep up with like all the pull requests and what everybody's working on? And I know we haven't always done great on that, but it has always been a goal for us to get better. And Hannes has taken on a lot of that work there. But I think a big thing has just been coming up with a process for it. Like, what do we actually really value in this age of AI? And I think more than anything, it's like having the ideas, right? I think humans just bring the judgment about what we should be doing and what matters. And the community has a lot of great ideas. So what we've been focused on is just how do we like leverage those ideas and then have the agents do what they're good at. So yeah, we've basically just been thinking about handoffs the way you've been talking about them, JB. And a great, I guess, abstraction for a handoff is the idea of an issue on GitHub. So Hannes led a process where we moved to issue first, where before you come in and you want to like write a PR or make a code contribution to Roo Code, like we ask people to write down, this is the problem I'm trying to solve. Here's why. Here's like a rough idea of how I think I would solve it, which I think is just extremely valuable for getting everyone on the same page. But one really interesting thing is that that's not just an issue, that's also a prompt. So what do we do with prompts, right? We give them to agents. So we've actually just, those of you who hang out on GitHub might have seen that every issue that comes in automatically, what we call a remote or a remote cloud agent that runs Roo will basically jump in and say, hey, let me take a shot at this. We coach it on being polite and not just assuming that it got it right, but it comes in politely, says, I'm going to take a shot at this. And it'll actually try to open a pull request and then report back, which I think is surprising in some cases, and especially if it does it badly. But I think as we've gotten better at it, like it's actually been surprising in a good way. We've actually seen like a lot of like really interesting interactions in the comment section of our issues where the contributors like, oh, that looks really close. Brumo, can you tweak this one thing? Let me add a little more detail. And it's like, sure. And then all of a sudden, this contributor that might have spent their time writing a pull request is now actually managing an agent, which I don't know if they expected to do that, but it's really interesting for us. And by the way, every pull request that this agent opens is also reviewed automatically by a code review agent that we call the reviewer. And then that adds all its comments. And then if a person comes in there, they can look at the comments and they can hit a button that says, fix this now. that opens the fixer agent. So really quickly, you feel like you're working on a team, and that team is not all biological. So it's been really interesting. And obviously, there's like problems everywhere that you can see, but there's also successes everywhere. But more than anything, it does feel like we're at the edge of
Yeah.
what's coming, and that we're figuring it out. So it's been really fun to see for us and to think about how we can apply to our own company internally, but also help companies like SmartSheet and others start feeling that way a little bit as well.
Yeah. That's what I see is coming. I think to everybody, right? It's just a matter of when, like how fast are you going to get there? And do you have the people and the mindset and the behavior ready to take advantage of that? Right? I think a team that hasn't been using agentic AI coding tools and tries to jump straight to that, my guess is it's too big of a leap. It's kind of a struggle to get the value out of it. Just watching my team advance and just really like accelerate on their approach to using AI to their advantage, to help them do more intellectually stimulating and valuable things and not so much other rudimentary pieces. It's awesome to watch. I think it's an adoption curve that you have to go on the steps of the curve. It's hard to jump from not on the curve to like, okay, I'm accelerating, because it's too much different thinking and behavior.
Yeah,
There's
one thing I've seen
also
actually.
sorry.
No, everybody wants to talk at the same time. You first.
I know. Yeah, I want to talk to you, JB. It's been interesting. I've definitely experienced for engineers who are good at writing code. They spent a lot of time writing code. It feels more like it's like walking up, ascending a ladder or something. One thing that's been interesting for us, though, is when you get outside of engineering, it feels like there's a lot of people in an organization who are just super hungry to make an impact on the product and the code base.
Yeah.
And for them, there's less of a ladder. It's more like they're just like diving off a cliff or something. You know, they're just like, I don't know what I'm doing and how it's working, but I have an idea and I want to build it. And I'm absolutely right. Can I ship it? You know, there is
That
like
was
a ton of
me.
enthusiasm
That
there.
was me
Yeah.
making changes to Roo Code, right? Like, I'm not a coder every day. I haven't been a coder every day for a long time, but I wanted to have this thing happen. I'm like, well, you guys say you have a tool that can do it. Let's see, right? And I just sucked me right in, and yeah, now I feel like I can just. I love how the models today make you feel like you're superhuman and always right. Like, that's an excellent idea, right? It's almost this dopamine hit when you're in Roo Code and it tells you you're right about everything. You have to be skeptical about that stuff, though. You're going to ship some weird things.
One of the unexpected highlights of having these auto-generated pull requests was that even though they often generate, they generate fixes no problem for little things, and they're like, good. But other times they generate like really terrible PRs. And I used to look at it like, close, what the heck? Now I look at them and I go, okay, cool. Now I know what when we try to fix this, what the agent is going to try to look at. And so we can prompt it better. And so that PR is not wasted at all, even though it's closed.
No, not at all. It's really good training information, right?
Mm-hmm.
Reinforcement learning. And if you can see the thinking process, you can understand, well, this is how it's thinking about what I said, and you can change that, right? Now you change your approach to it. Which if you're a manager, you do this all the time with the people that you manage, or if you're just trying to influence somebody, right? You do this and like, well, no, that's what you got out of that. And then you have to adjust your approach, right? I think it's all natural.
It seems like we're all like, because experiencing a little bit of some of the same in some of these organizations that are somewhere earlier in the adoption curve that you are. Like an organization, sees the value in potentially using AI to vibe code a prototype, and there's a huge backlog of ideas that the organization has, and the organization goes kind of nuts for a while, like prototyping a bunch of stuff, but maybe not shipping because like that's actually harder. And real shipping takes doing some mundane processes. And like for me, like one of the eye-opening moments here at Roo Code was building essentially a mode to do translations. An agent could just do automatically. We were only in English, and in a matter of automation, we're now in 18 languages, is it? And we don't think about it like ever. But the agent spins up every moment, that there's a change in the strings file and goes and makes sure there's translations for it.
Yep. I think that's where I see the most joy in our team when they find something like this thing that really bugged me and I hated doing, I don't have to do anymore, and they're really excited about it. Right? And
that
now
takes
they've
hard
had
work
time
to
back
get
to do
those
something
in.
more valuable.
Yeah. And that takes harder work that's a little bit less sexy than vibe coding prototypes. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And I think there's a little bit of a disconnect for some organizations of like what that road looks like and how they have to go there. But you've navigated it perfectly.
Well, I don't know that I did a Smartsheet, maybe like my team did, right? I think it's trying to get impact versus excitement, maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud a little bit. Yeah, but I didn't have to do any of that. Convince them of doing that. All right. So we talked about cloud a little bit. Can you guys tell? Are you willing to share where your cloud roadmap is?
He's doing the reverse interview thing, guys.
Yes, I
Careful. I'm not answering that.
Danny, you want to take this one or me?
I'm taking me. Who's the chief prompt officer?
Janice? No. Oh. No, I think for us, the thing you said about kind of, I don't know, climbing a ladder or something like really resonates with me, where I think you start by hitting tab a while, then you realize that you can check some auto approve boxes. It's kind of where Roo Code came in. But then things start running more autonomously. As they run more autonomously, you get limited by how much you can run on a computer, and you're only kind of checking in with them at the beginning and the end anyways. So I think that's one really important part of moving to the cloud. I think a lot of work is going to move that way, and it's really going to be a huge multiplier on the amount of work that one person can get done as they transition from being 100%, implementer to more of a delegator, manager, multiplier. So I think that's one big piece of it. But also, we live in the real world. Like you work at a real company. We have to figure out how to make AI work within a company, and to make that happen, there's a lot of the things you touched on around first of all, like compliance and trying to make sure that we're using the right AI model and the right providers, and we're putting the right things in there. Like that's like we need to do it. I think no one's that excited about it, but just to unlock companies being able to work on it, like that's really important. But beyond that, the collaboration and making it so that the early adopters within your team can help bring everyone else along and make it easier for them to not come into a blank slate, but to actually have that magic moment of, oh, this is actually saving me time. That really boring, mundane thing that takes up my whole Friday, someone else like automated it. Now I hit one button and I can actually do the stuff I want to do. I think at a high level, it's just making everyone more effective and making it easier for them to onboard within. Every company is different, but to do it within the context of their company. So I think it's a combination of configuration, collaboration, and cloud agents. And I think we can get deeper on all those things. But that, for me, that's where we're focused in the near term.
Cool.
I think for me, it feels like if we do those things right, then the Roo Code Cloud becomes quite the central place for managing that organizational design that you were describing, JB. Like that place where you can kind of see how work flows through your software development system between humans and agents alike, and that there really isn't a good place for that. Like, we're all still just confused trying to manage these multiple windows and understand that everybody's doing the things they're supposed to do. So really excited about that vision.
Yeah. It's a fun time to be in software, right? Like everything, I've been in software for 25 years and it feels like this is all new. Like everything is refreshed and you get to relearn everything, and in a good way, right?
Totally.
Awesome.
And also you get to be a kid again, because just like you, JB, like it's been a long time since I've been writing much code, and I feel like a superhuman genius. Like, although Matt still doesn't take my PRs mostly, but I think that's more out of spite than out of quality of the PRs.
You're absolutely right, Mr. CEO. Absolutely right.
Well, thanks again for having me, guys, and for building such a good product. And for accepting some of my PRs. Really appreciate that.
You had mentioned you had one closed. I couldn't find it.
We know not to close yours. Matt's the only one allowed to close your I think
Hey, I saw.
you mentioned it. It was something that was in the marketplace concept originally that hasn't shipped yet that I know of.
I saw.
Yes.
Hannah, did you see yesterday a Roo Mode actually closed a PR? It like said this is spam, and it closed the issue.
Is it Danny's?
No, somebody
Yeah.
spammed and I changed the title to spam so it couldn't end up in SEO because they were trying to populate the internet with garbage. And then Roo closed it. I forgot to. So that was
Oh,
sort
This
of
is the
funny.
new way. The new way to do whatever you want is you pretend to be a bot and just
Oh,
live your wildest dreams.
but
No
you,
apologies, sir.
yeah, you brought up a good thing though. Like MR approval rates are going to go down, right? In general, as we just take more like opportunistic shots at things. Like MRs are not precious anymore, right? We used to like, okay, you gotta fix this, and you work at it. Like now, some of them you're gonna look at and be like, yeah, close half of those.
Yeah, I see them as like two camps. Like the ones like, oh, I need to review that. Somebody like made it. That's tender, loving care. And then it's like, oh my gosh, look at that pile of MRs to deal with.
Yeah,
So.
it makes me wonder if there's gonna be changes to MR sort of core pieces of data. Like we have draft, right? You say draft right now, right? I wonder if there's going to be new sort of statuses or new workflows around MRs that help us understand and represent the state of an MR or the quality or the like place it is in its evaluation process.
This is tangentially related to that, which is that it's kind of interesting watching on the Roo veterinary side, a bunch of folks who aren't deep into this every day. A lot of non-engineers trigger Roo tasks through the Slack integration by mentioning Roo and giving it, and Roo will sometimes, or often reply with a PR to that thing. Now, the engineering team knows they're not going to like merge some PR that some customer service rep or a product manager just kind of riffing around like made. So there isn't really any concern. But the company had to introduce an ignore emoji for those threads so that just everybody understood like, hey, we're not shipping this. This is just an exploration. And I just thought that like related to the notion of a status. It's like the default assumption that a PR is for merging is like wrong now.
Yeah, I think that's kind of
really to get comfortable with that.
Yeah, in order for the modes to transfer their work from one to another, it's got to go into Git or something. And the way to explain what changed is to create an MR, right? And it's really an explanation. It's a handoff process as opposed to a request to merge in some cases.
Exactly, 100%.
Yeah.
That was fun. Oh, I noticed that GPT 5.1 just released. So seeing me like typing, that's exciting. Things come at you fast in AI.
Yeah.
And we got Minimax that just gave us the go ahead for the Minimax M2 free. I don't know. It's going to be free for a little while, right? In Roo Code, I think exclusively. They've turned it off everywhere else, as far as I know. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
Matt, you know more about it. Well, we've got that going.
Free. Yeah, it's free. Try it out. But yeah, thank you for coming on, JB. I remember it's quite a welcome to the big leagues moment, seeing you contribute and seeing SmartSheet using it. So it was a special, always a pleasure talking to you and hearing about the future.
Yeah, thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.
And to the community, see you guys next week.
Thanks, everybody.
See ya.
Yeah.
See ya.
See ya.